my process is when I walk into our management meetings, I want to be the dumbest person in the room. That's my whole, I want to go in there if I have an ops manager or director of operation, VP of ops, COO, whatever, I want them running circles around me. Mm-hmm. Same on if there's the sales side, I want to sit and talk about those sales funnels and those opportunities. And not only that, I want to be surrounded by people who aren't yes people.
Sure.
I think private equity in general tends to get a bad reputation. I think a lot of it, and there's examples, I think public examples that people see, and there's a reason for that. Mm-hmm. People kind of see them get turned and burned and stripped and pieced out. For me, my experience with private equity, because I'm still connected to them on the Tiedemann side, running the company for them, it's been great for me.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Next Gen Strategies podcast. Joining me as always, Mr. Tyler Davis, and joining us today is Andrew Lawrence. And this is going to be a really, really cool episode. As you can see, we're actually here in kind of a blank space.
Our four walls, that's it.
That's right. That's right. So we're going to tell a little bit of a story. Andrew's got quite a story, and just around scale and just being an entrepreneur and growing different businesses that we'll get into. And so I'm super excited for this episode, and then we'll also talk a little about like why the heck we're here and what's going to become this new space, and we're going to get started. So Andrew, thanks for joining us. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to be with you guys.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about, obviously I mentioned you're an entrepreneur, but you didn't start off just jumping right into business ownership, right?
I did not.
So tell us a little bit about, kind of your background and kind of how you started getting into this.
Yeah. So if you had told me 14 years ago when I was at Wright State in the accounting program that where I'm at in my career now would be where I am, I wouldn't believe it to go in there. So my background, I started off in accounting, was a public accountant for about 5 years, kind of go through, we talked a little bit earlier, you kind of go through that, 3 to 5 year, there's different exit points in public accounting. And I took the 5-year exit off the highway of public accounting there. And it's a great experience. It gives you a great foundation. I'm really thankful for it. But, that kind of laid the groundwork for where my career started and it went. Left there, did some project management for a clinical research drug trial company in Cincinnati. Found my way then after that. I got burnt out on numbers, then I missed numbers and found my way back into accounting and was a senior accountant for a great company in Monroe, Ohio called Baker Concrete. Sure. They were terrific. It was awesome. It was a great company. No one left, which was part of the problem. You go in there, you're looking for, I was young, I loved it, but you're looking for vertical mobility, and you kind of look and you're like, I'm probably a decade out from any significant movement. That's not a knock on them. It's actually a tremendous attribute to Dan Baker and the culture that they had there, that people just don't leave if you get in the door, and it's incredible. Right. So I was sitting at my desk one day and I get a call. I was going to Detroit the next weekend, going up. My wife and I were heading to Detroit to see a buddy of mine we graduated from high school with. And I got a call from a Detroit area code. I thought it was our hotel. And it was actually the recruiter for Strength Capital, who owned Tiedemann, going in looking for a new controller. So weirdly enough, they kind of talked through the process, and I wasn't looking at the time, but they talked about what they wanted to do, have some calls, and sent them my resume. And I remember them saying they wanted to do a video meeting with some of the management team there, but they were in Michigan. And so I told them, I said, I'm going to be in Detroit this weekend. If there's any chance, I'd love to meet you in person instead. Sure. And so funny enough, one of the VPs of the private equity firm came in after his kids' swim meet on a Saturday morning in a baseball cap and a T-shirt. And, I look back on it, I thought I was underqualified. It's one of those, I told my wife, you can ask my wife right now, actually, it's very funny. I told her, I'm taking batting practice here. Like, I think I'm going to strike out, but, let's go try it. Like, this is fun. I think it's something that I've always in my life kind of, if somebody thinks, well, that's a weird opportunity, I've always found myself kind of gravitating towards it.
And just for our listeners too, so Tiedemann being what is that? What is that business?
So Tiedemann was, so I went for Baker Concrete is the country's largest concrete construction contractor, building high rises, football stadiums, different things. The Hollywood Hard Rock Casino in Hollywood Beach, Florida was one that was going up when I was there. Really cool, just random things. And so as I started talking, Tiedemann Bevs have been around for 150 years, but they're a textile distributor into the death care industry, so the funeral market. So I remember at the time of thinking, well, we're in Dayton. This place is in Richmond. It's a funeral industry. Like, I don't know. It's weird, but I'm attracted to it for some reason. Like, it'd be fun.
Right.
So I did. I told my wife, I said, we're doing this road trip anyway. We're going to go up. We're going to try it. It may not work, may fail, but I'm going to take my swing. And if nothing else, it'll prepare me for the next one. Sure. I thought maybe I was a tad early in my career. I ended up sitting and talking with the VP from the private equity firm for about 3.5 hours on a Saturday morning up there. And kind of the rest is history from there. Because I remember leaving that, getting back in the car, and I told my wife, I said, we need to look at Richmond, Indiana, honey. I think this is going to work out. So, we went through the rest of their process, and about a month later, I ended up starting for them, and the rest is kind of history. So that kind of led into the now portion of my career at Tiedemann and EJ. So you want me to spin off into the EJ story?
I think that it's just, you had a little bit of an interesting situation because you mentioned before that, you had, this wasn't just a wholly owned business. You had a private equity component. And I'm curious just, some of our listeners, and maybe you can speak to just kind of what that dynamic is like. Some of our listeners have, potentially like private equity folks who they, are looking at, maybe they need help with financing a business, maybe there's opportunities there, but we haven't had anybody really talk about just what that means when you have somebody invest in your business. So maybe speak just kind of briefly to like, and obviously you're on the numbers side, but maybe just speak a little bit to like what that kind of is like.
Well, it's funny. So in the interviewing process, when I found out that Tiedemann was owned, had the investment from Strength Capital, it was actually one of my biggest concerns initially.
Sure.
Because I was leaving a company that no one left. It was consistent. It had been around. Dan started that company pouring concrete patios with his grandpa in Oxford, Ohio, and built an empire. And in the rural area outside of Monroe, it's cool, but you also don't leave just for nothing in that.
Right.
It was a vertical move, and I really kind of. The interviewing process after I had that meeting in Detroit, after that, it was almost as much of me exploring them as them exploring me as well too.
Sure.
I think private equity in general tends to get a bad reputation. I think a lot of it, and there's examples, I think public examples that people see, and there's a reason for that. People kind of see them get turned and burned and stripped and pieced out. For me, my experience with private equity, because I'm still connected to them on the Tiedemann side, running the company for them. It's been great for me. I think they're a unique blend. So Strength Capital is the private equity company that I was involved with, that had the ownership in Tiedemann and EJ. They kind of have I don't want to say weird. It's not weird, but they have a unique opportunity where they come in and they kind of hybrid between short-term holds and long-term holds. They're kind of more of a family-style equity group.
Sure.
So both companies, 10-year holds that they had, have had. Tiedemann's coming up on year 10. For me, it was fun. I'm glad I took the leap. It kind of gives you a whole different realm because it's higher standards of finance reporting, which we kind of talked about a little bit there.
We won't bore the crowd.
We won't go into the detail, but I would tell you that things come into play there that versus a family-owned company, it gives a whole unique perspective. And for me, I'm lucky because they let you. We communicate frequently, so I'm not saying that they don't talk. They communicate and communicate well. We're in constant communication, but they let me do my thing. There, you got them what they needed. You performed, and they were there for advice. They are there for advice. They're there for support. They're there for their investors, and it's a really symbiotic relationship that we have. I don't know if a lot of people have that. With the private equity model, I may be unique, but I would say that my experience has and continues to be, really good. I've had a great experience with it. I think that it comes with maybe some more scrutiny, more compliance that you would versus owning a company yourself. But otherwise, I think it's just having another boss. You go in there at that point in time. It's who you report to, who you have, and you need to make sure you're getting all your ducks in the row and you've got everything in line. And as long as you're performing, from my end, it's as long as you have a return for them, and you're going out and making the best of it. That's all you need to do.
What's unique about it though too is it gives you the chance to kind of learn and operate inside a small business, but it's connected to some high caliber, what do you want to call it? mentors or people that you can talk to. Like you're getting access to people who have a tremendous amount of skills that you may have never seen, especially as a young person. But you're not just working for a giant corporation. You're working in small business and building those skills, but you also have these resources over here of, this is done at a certain level.
It's a very good point, because for me, Tiedemann is on the smaller, small mid-sized company, and the strength of their portfolio kind of scales from smaller end companies all the way up to very large companies. So you did get that. Mike and Mark made that company. Two Harvard grads met in the gym at Harvard in their MBAs. That's where it came from. And
Gotcha.
So yeah, to your point, if it wasn't for that, you have a whole network of people that you're connected to that otherwise you wouldn't get. But I also still had the intimacy of learning at Tiedemann, where I was in finance, I was in HR, I was in operations, I was in sales. You don't get that. Even Baker was terrific for culture, but I was in accounting. And you talk to other people, but you did your job, and that's what you needed to do. And I had had that experience previously as well. So that really did introduce me to a very unique realm where you get to be involved in everything, and you had great support. And to your point, a whole network of things that otherwise aren't there.
Yeah. And so, fast forward, you kind of start to, for lack of better words, prove your worth, right? As that, they take a chance on you, you move up, you're starting to run things at Tiedemann, and then it sounds like some other opportunities come up, and where you can even expand a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I kind of cut my teeth for a couple years in that CFO controller role, worked my way up, and then the fun world of COVID hit.
Yeah.
And I think everybody can kind of put two and two together of Tiedemann is in the death care industry, and we supply a lot of the casket manufacturers. So COVID just did this crazy boom for what we had, which is unfortunate for society. And I think at Tiedemann is a weird business in itself of, it's a necessity. But when our business kind of goes up with society, it's an unfortunate thing. And that was the case with COVID. So I had the opportunity, in August of 2020, I was promoted to CEO, and had spent a lot of time with the company, working through getting the right people in the right place. I think we had talked about before, but my process is when I walk into our management meetings, I want to be the dumbest person in the room. That's my whole. I want to go in there if I have an ops manager, director of operation, VP of ops, COO, whatever. I want them running circles around me. Same on if there's the sales side, I want to sit and talk about those sales funnels and those opportunities. And not only that, I want to be surrounded by people who aren't yes people. It's you don't make good decisions and good long-term strategies and scalability by being in an echo chamber. You just don't. So a lot of that first 2 years at Tiedemann was getting right people, right place, right processes, understanding what our KPIs were that we were looking for that were success, while still developing and building a culture that led to retention. Because I think you're bringing in someone new is way more expensive than retaining the people you have.
Yeah. Can you say it one more time? I think we've been saying that for it costs a lot more to bring in somebody else.
It does.
Accountants say
Accountant,
the
numbers
side.
guy.
So
You're right.
because it's sometimes not that measurable.
It's
like in a P&L.
It's that soft cost. It's good.
Yeah.
You go in there for us at Tiedemann.
Yes.
If you lose someone on the floor, you're then, instead of putting effort into that person and making it a company they want to be at, if you have to go out and recruit, so sure, let's say you're buying the same hourly rate, right? So it's to the accountant, it's relative. Sure. Right? That's where you're going. It's those soft costs that are hidden. Of then you've got probably a month if you do it right, where you're then losing a supervisor training that person, which that supervisor's paid more. And then if that supervisor's pulled, then it's going up again and you're losing someone above them to fill in their role, or you're back ordering customers in that time period. And the soft costs of those add up significantly. So for me, retention is key to what we do. You're always going to lose some people. I mean, it is what it is. And my hope, and I always tell our teams this, and it's a legitimacy that I always feel of, if they leave, I always want it to be because they had a chance to move up. If they leave laterally or downward, I feel like I failed them. So that's the same from whether it's someone on the manufacturing floor to our, one of our VPs. If they leave and it's a promotion and it's an awesome opportunity for them, I'll be the first one to shake their hand and take them to dinner and congratulate them. But if they leave because they felt they weren't supported or they weren't in the right opportunity, I failed. at that point in time. We've got, 60, 70 people across both companies. And I look at it as it's my responsibility to make sure they want to show up every day. They're excited to be there every day. And it's a place where they're working, they're making their money to put food on the table, but they're excited to be there. They want to be. And I think this day and age, people have really short-term instant gratification that they're looking for. So it's hard to build that culture, especially with the younger teams coming in. But I think we're succeeding in that, and it's really key to that. So you're building that retention, and as you build retention and you get that, that's kind of what led into that the new opportunity is. I've never been one to be afraid of being the dumbest person in the room. You build a team that's better than you, you're never going to advance if you don't have people who can support you. I think a lot of people view that as a threat at times. Well, if I give this away, they're going to think that I'm not worthy, or I'm not worth this position. And for me, I've always had the mindset of, if you can develop someone else, that's the only way you're getting moved up, or it's the only way you're getting moved up sustainably. Because if you're not, you're getting moved up, but you're keeping all the junk you just came from, and you're going to work 80 hours a week, and it's not sustainable. So I think that's what led to the opportunity of then, Strength had come to me in late 21, I think it was, and we were talking about one of the other portfolio companies who had, unfortunately, COVID took damage on that company, and they were looking for somebody new to come in and lead the entity. And the conversation started with, hey, we've loved what you've done with Tiedemann. We're hoping to find someone that has similar qualities as you. So we started looking a little bit, and didn't find anybody who kind of fit the bill. And it kind of turned into, well, instead of that, how can you do both companies? And so it's kind of a laugh. And it's exciting. It was exciting. My brain was kind of running of how can you make this work? But
which was EJ Thomas.
Which was EJ. Yes, so EJ. Yes, sorry. Circling back,
Yeah.
EJ got the brand on today for it. So, which was EJ. So we had conversations with that, and EJ was involved in a lot of the delivering and distributing to a lot of laundries and hotels and athletic events and different things, which you can put two and two together. COVID did very bad things to all of those industries. Travel went down, people weren't working, so dry cleaning went down. I mean, it was a tough span for that company. But because we had that team built at Tiedemann, it didn't make it easy it was not easy, I will say that, to go in there, but it made it possible to be able to take on both companies, because the team at Tiedemann was able to kind of take on that day to day, and be able to jump into the EJ side and take on that opportunity, and to run both companies. It was a lot, but I'm very grateful for the opportunity. I don't know how many times or how many people have had the chance that they've given me, but I'm very grateful for it and always appreciative of it. And so that started in early 2022. And have ran both companies for them for a while, and it's been really fun, because then it turned in from running it for them to in February of just this year, a couple months ago, I ended up actually acquiring EJ from them. So it's really fun. We have a great relationship. I still run as a CEO for Tiedemann for them, and it's really cool, because I get to wear the hat of, now it's my company. I own 100% of EJ, and it's family owned, and it's a family asset, but I still run Tiedemann for them, so I get both sides and kind of the best of both worlds of, I run a private equity company and I run my own, and it's fun. It's unique. It's fun. It keeps me busy. Sleep's overrated. I'll tell you that. I got three kids under 5 and running multiple companies. It's overrated. As long as I got the coffee in the morning, we're good.
So I want to talk about this path, because this is really interesting to me, because it's a little bit different of a path compared to someone who just starts their brand new business, or it becomes a part of their family's business. So I kind of want to talk about wow, right? I'm assuming here at some point in time you were in leadership positions in your 20s. I mean,
yes,
controller, CFO, right? And you're probably a CEO at barely 30.
I think I got promoted to CEO when I was 28.
Yeah, there you go. Right.
So it was very early. Yes.
I mean, so it's just thinking about that path, and I think maybe it's just kind of the work that if you think about every place that you work, you put yourself in the position to just be a sponge. I mean, an absolute sponge. And you didn't get pinned down in learning some FASB update about a depreciation. You really got well-rounded in business.
Yes.
And what I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on is what do you feel like? Did you feel like this was a really accessible route to business ownership? And it was maybe the great and easy because you seen all the inner workings of this that led to this acquisition, to because there's just a lot of people are like, how the heck do you just acquire a business at that point? But I'm sure this sounds like a route that seems so far very successful,
It is. It's very successful. And it kind of leads back to the path you're talking about too. Going back to my public accounting career of, the FASB updates, those didn't interest me. I loved going into our manufacturing clients, because I was an audit, and I loved watching them build things. I loved the operations. I loved the mechanics, and I loved the people. So it was fun, because that the foundation was there, and then moving in, and then to talking about this path of acquisition to ownership is, I would say the path to get here was not the easy button, but this to the full ownership absolutely was an easy button, because it also led to clean diligence, because if something was wrong with the company, I screwed it up. So I know about it, at that point. So it wasn't like there was landmines.
There's nothing buried out back.
There's no secret. So it was very clear at that point in time.
And you're working with people who understand capital and how to get access to capital and how that all works, versus like, I just saw this listing on Biz Buy Sell, and I'm going to go get an SBA.
I'm going to go to LoopNet and see what's exactly. So, which is perfect. I mean, I got used to some things, but it's a lot harder, because when you're going that way, my career path also led me from the private equity world with Tiedemann and EJ through Strength. We've developed great relationships with those financing companies as well too. So it really was honestly a very good pathway to this, because it kind of laid. I didn't know it at the time. I mean, again, if you had told me through this is how it's going to end up, I would tell you that I never expected it. But you build everything brick by brick. It's Rome's not built in a day, but as you built for success, I somehow in that process built the success for myself and my family's future on the EJ side, unbeknownst to me. But absolutely, we had the discussions, and we sold our division down in the Carolinas at the end of the year, and we had conversations, and they had held the company for a while, going on 10 years. So it wasn't like this was a quick turn for them at all. So it was not something that just at a certain point it's time to leave an investment, and it was time. And I love the team. We've put a lot of effort into things over the last several years, because the damage COVID did to our industry was not. It didn't just come back overnight. It's not something. So you have to diversify, you have to grow, you have to build the team to do it. So we've all put a whole team on the EJ sides, put blood, sweat, tears the last several years, and to have the opportunity come up when they were having that conversation and say, let's do it. It was a no-brainer. It's a ton of fun, and it is. You know what's in there. You don't have to go through the diligence phase. It shortens the timelines. I mean, so we closed the other deal at the end of December, at the end of the year, and then our deal closed the first week of February. So I mean, we basically at that point in time. Now we had some discussions ongoing, but you're talking about a 30, 45-day window from concept to let's get it done. So.
Yeah, and I say this in like the most like positive way. Like I also love these businesses because they're what maybe folks would call like a boring business, or like just steady businesses that people don't even maybe necessarily know.
Not sexy.
It's not sexy. It's not. It's not. But like Ty mentioned, like those opportunities for ownership or getting more involved than just potentially being an employee. Like I feel like there are, a lot of different companies that are out there that have just, they're steady businesses. They've been around for forever and ever. And I think that if you can inject maybe sometimes some new life into those, or maybe a little bit different perspective, like obviously honoring what's bringing revenue in, but then being able to see like, okay, so I know I've kind of got this in my left hand, but if we grew this in my right hand, there's other opportunities. And it feels like, I'd love for you to talk maybe a little bit about some of the things that you did with EJ Thomas, as you came in, where you were like, hey, like, here's some other opportunities that we might be able to generate revenue or penetrate a market differently or expand services to a customer. Like maybe talk through a little bit some of those things that you've been able to do on that side.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's been fun. I've learned a lot. I've failed a lot, which is I think where I learned the most from. But really, we went in and kind of started from the foundation when I first came into EJ. Was starting looking at from the sales model to the supply chain to how we do it. And we used a lot of brokers in our supply chain. So one of the biggest things that kind of turned the corner from us is we went mill direct on a lot of our offshore products before, where previously we were using middlemen, which is you're putting a markup in. So you're trying to go out and be competitive in an industry that already kind of got hit hard. Yep. You don't need to be paying any more than you absolutely need to at that point in time. So was able to kind of go take our whole supply chain mill direct on the offshore program, which was very helpful. Coming in, it was unfortunate because you had to let some people go. I mean, you had a company that wasn't performing. You had to figure it out. But I think what we did more so that I was really excited about is I love sports. So I use the analogy of, I kind of being CEO is kind of like being coach of a team. It's you put a quarterback in a center or offensive line, they're not going to perform. You do the same thing. So there was a lot of people in the wrong place. And it took a while to figure it out. And you talk to your team, and it goes back to retention versus recruiting of you've got 30 people in that company, 35 people in the company. It may not be performing well, but are they set up for success? And that was a lot of the question that we had that we were looking at. And we shuffled a lot of people around. There's a lot of people now that you talk to that are in different positions than they first started.
You're on the bus, but not in the right seat.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, 100%. Exactly. That's where it was. So a lot of that was kind of going through. So you talk about supply chain and then internally just knowing your people, knowing their strengths and getting them right in the position. And then going to the boring stuff, procedures, processes. You go in there, if you don't have a replicable way of doing things, and you've got in there, and we had this with our data sets and our ERP system. So we switched ERP systems, which is always terrible. It doesn't matter. You can spend 8 years preparing for it. It's always
I've never heard about it.
And I've never heard anybody say, "Oh, it was great." The outcome might have been great.
The salesman said worked out.
Yes, it was perfect. We had zero issues. So now I will tell you the process to get there was hard. The implementation's miserable. Like anything, you go in there, you plan for a year plus, and you flip the switch, and everything blows up. It's always fun to go in there. So that was probably our biggest one. But it created, before we had the old system had not been updated or touched since 2011. So you were having to get data was just grind of a process. And I always kind of told it when we talked is you're flying a ship without a window in the cockpit, in the plane, and you're pulling. We don't have data. Data's the light. I may be a CEO and I'm, getting into sales and everything, but the accounting nerd in me always prevails at that point in time. So you need the data to make good decisions. And so processes then leading into good data. You can have an ERP system and put a new one in, but if you put bad data in, it's going to put bad data out. So a lot of times scrubbing data, getting where it needed to be at. And we're at the point now where I think that may be the single biggest thing that we did to improve the company is the ERP system, but it's relative of it's the ERP system with the new data visibility and transparency to the team. Because right now, like we just did a management meeting. And for me, I'm fully transparent with our team now. Like before there was things I would share, but it's not your company. You don't share everything. Now it's, hey, here's everything that happened last month. Here's where it's at. And we have that data immediately at that point in time to share. And it makes the team better. They know going through there, you can share it. You can make better decisions. Which leads you to be able to grow. You can't grow and scale without that foundation. And that was a lot of what we tried to do.
Where do you feel like how you kind of gained your knowledge? Like you're saying a lot of really important items and a lot of like very, very heavy leadership things. So like, did you feel like you built that, through your career from who you worked with or mentors or books, or like where do you feel like this is all came,
A little bit of everything.
You? Yeah.
So I got lucky. I'd say luck comes from hard work at times though. So when I say lucky, it's not like it was all just stuff fell in my lap.
Like you open the door one day.
It's all just fell into my lap. So, it grinds back to, my parents sacrificed a ton for my brother and I to be in a better situation. I've never taken that for granted. So I would say my background came from a lot of different places. One, through my career, I think absolutely, but through my career, I think I picked up a lot of really good mentors in that process. And I think I learned a lot from them. I always tried to keep, I think it was the rule of three was what I had heard. And it was early on in my career was you need to have 3 people who are a peer group of mentors at your same level. So you want to call them mentors, but it's more like a peer group. And then 3 groups or 3 people who are where you want to be. And you use them to go through there and pick their brain. And I always took that seriously, but I also got lucky because one thing we've not talked about that I'm always grateful for, I got to work in the Wright State Athletics Department when I worked at Wright State. I paid my way through school to go in. So I worked a ton when I was in school. It was one of those where my freshman, sophomore, most of my junior year before I took my first internship in public accounting, I was working in the Wright State Athletic Department. I took any additional job they would give me to go make some extra money, whether it was working the baseball gate sale or working a baseball game. I loved it, but I came across 2 awesome mentors there. So my direct boss was the assistant athletic director and the business manager for Wright State Athletics, Sarah Hill. She just retired this past year. Always grateful for her. She she was the person who always expected you, if she knew you could do something, she always expected you to do it right and do it the way it needed to be. And she was an incredible teacher from that too. It kept me. I played sports in high school and different things, but the level of accountability and where she had, but she also had incredible compassion as well too. She was like my campus mom. Like when I was away, like it was one of those of like she was really hard on me, but also like I knew if I ever needed anything, Sarah was there. So it was this weird blend of like expecting 100% from you, but you knew it was from a good spot.
Yeah.
It was for the best of them and the best of what was needed and the best out of you. Learned a ton from her. And then Bob Grant, who was the athletic director at Wright State, he just retired a couple years ago as well too. I wasn't a student athlete. It wasn't like I was a student. I was a student worker. Bob had zero reason to take interest in me. I was an accounting major in the business department, plugging POs and invoices during the day. And for some reason, he gave me the time of day all the time. And I learned a ton from him about culture, what he did in that athletic department culture of. It's funny. I look back on it. He was my first call when I got promoted to CEO at Tiedemann. So my first call, I had lunch with Sarah Hill to go in there, but he was the first person who I kind of picked the brain from an executive leader type of thing, and because I knew he took on a tough culture when he first started. And that was my thing was, hey, I need to change the culture. And so him and I had set up in Beavercreek and talked for like 2 hours. And so my motto, which was on the conference room board in Tiedemann for years, I think we just switched whiteboards, so it came off, that I learned from him was be a fountain, not a drain, which I loved. That was a whole thing of basically you can either spread what we want to do and kind of when we leave this room, you can yell at me behind closed doors if you don't want to. We can talk, we can go through things, but when we leave this room from a management meeting, if you're in the culture, you need to be spreading that around, and you're not taking us down the drain with you. So from that, then that part of it, then getting in with a company like Baker Concrete, Dan Baker, I was there in that time period, and he built just this incredibly amazing, successful company. Starting off building concrete patios in Oxford, Ohio with his grandpa, and then turn it into this, I think it's a multi-billion-dollar company now. It's enormous. But it was always led with anything he talked about. I never heard him in any email, any corporate letter, any discussion, any conversation, any update, any discussion you had. It was always we, us, together, not me. Because he built this thing. It could be a me. You could say out there, I did this. It's like, you did, good for you. But he never did. Right. And I think leading, kind of on that was from a culture side, I think I really learned a lot from really good leaders that I had come across. And I think from a technical side, you're talking about some of these, like the things that we led through. I really think it was from my public accounting days. Yeah. A lot of it, because you got to see
a lot,
so much, because you had manufacturing, you had service companies, you had healthcare, nursing homes, whatever it was. So you got to see just this enormous background of companies, and you got to see a lot of them they weren't always successful. Because of it too. You got to see people's failures. You got to kind of understand the why. You got to see successes and understand why. And I think it was kind of a blend of that from the actual doing. I think you pick up pieces along the way at each company, but I think the Public Accounting Foundation really laid a lot of good examples of seeing companies who were led by good cultures, good processes, is what led to success. And if you didn't have that, I may have only been 21, 22, and a dummy when I first came as an intern, knowing what auditing cash meant. But then you lead, then you grow on it, and you build it, and you get to see all these, and you start realizing pretty quickly, even at that age, getting to see it, you're like, oh, this is what makes a good company. Yeah, it's a really cool.
You can build it quick, like if you're doing what you're talking about and soaking it all up. I mean, you can.
You can.
We got to talk about the space too, don't we?
Yeah. So, fast forward, right? Like we are in this space here in Bellbrook. And so talk to me a little bit about like, what the heck why are we sitting in this
welcome
building?
To our beautiful empty cave right now. So this is really cool. Yeah. And this is, I'll be honest with you, this is like, I don't even call it like a passion project of mine.
Yeah.
So my wife and 3 kids, we live in Bellbrook. So this is actually just a really cool thing for us. So we're introducing a new division of E.J. Thomas that'll come out in the summer to go in. It's called E.J. PureHome. So what we're doing is in the back here, you're going to have some offices for our great team for EJ, but in the front here, it's going to be our showroom for our new division that we have coming. And what that is it's a really cool thing that we have that kind of blends into a new opportunity to go straight to consumers. Both businesses before have always been B2B. So for me, this is the first time in my career of anything I've done that I get to go straight to a consumer, which is fun because now I'm working with a person on social media. I don't want to say social media didn't matter before, but before you go in there, to go in there, not in that way, but before it was one of those of like, at Tiedemann, we have a very concise industry you're going through. So this is the first one where I get to sit and say, I get to get into marketing.
It's like, what's a public thing?
It's very different.
It's very cool, very different. So what we're doing is we're taking a lot of our competencies from EJ, because on EJ we service a lot of laundries, a lot of industrial cleaning facilities. You go in there if you're a dry cleaner or Wright State Athletics Department or a nursing home, a hotel, anywhere that does cleaning. We service into. We do industrial chemicals, degreasers, things like that. But again, that's the businesses. So now what we're looking at is we're taking this home good offering that we have. Getting anything like your detergent, your softeners, your paper towels, toilet papers. You get to shop local. We get those, and we're going to bring it to people's doorsteps. And it's going to be 20, 25, sometimes 30% cheaper than you can go to the big box stores. And for us, I'm not naive. We're all in business, and it's the economy's weird right now. You go in there, and it's kind of up and down, and people are scared. And I think it's a really fun time because you get to have a chance of bringing savings, bringing convenience, and bringing a really high-quality product straight to someone's door. And we're going to do it for the local area. So we're really excited. So that's why we're here. We're still working, so hopefully next time we get a chance to talk and give you guys some updates. This thing is full, and we're servicing. But we're starting off, it'll be servicing Bellbrook, Sugarcreek, Centerville, Kettering, Beavercreek, Xenia, the local area, and we're hoping that we get to expand over time, but we're starting local with our surrounding areas, and it's fun. I love this community. Our kids are in school here in Bellbrook, and I grew up in Piqua, went to school in Sydney. We were, the backyard. I went to Lehman, to go through. So we were all from the same general area, which is fun. But I've always been in the greater Dayton area. Left for Cincinnati for about a year and a half, and it's really cool to have something that sits in Dayton this time that actually gets to impact everybody here and be involved and kind of a loop into the community. So that's why we're here. That's why we're empty. We just signed the lease, and we're getting rolling with this. So I appreciate you guys kind of having the opportunity to come in here and get to show this weird empty space for now and what it's going to be.
So what struck the idea? Because you've moved. Clearly, I guess you're probably used to big things happening in a short amount of time because it's just been your career so far. But you kind of came into this 100% ownership of EJ, then you're just like, well, I got another idea.
Yeah, just one more to go in there. So it's not. So we actually just expanded EJ. We're servicing Chicago now. So we were bored. Is what happened. Absolutely. So we ran out of things to do. So it's funny because I told our team and everybody laughed and they kind of the same thing. Oh, we don't have enough projects right now, so we got one more. So how this
I'm just starting.
Yeah, just getting rolling. So how this started, we moved from our Cincinnati location about 2 years ago, and that's where our corporate headquarters was at. So our team has really been remote since then. We meet time to time. We'll rent a room or go over to our office in Indiana, but a lot of our corporate team is housed in the Cincinnati-Dayton area. So when we moved from that, one of the things I've always wanted was some space, some office space to get back in. I live here. I have an office at home, but when you have 3 kids under 5, that's only so efficient at times. So, it's funny as we came in, this space came available, and I loved it. And so I kind of went back to our team and I said, hey, let's start an idea. I want a place where we can all congregate again and go in there instead of having to run to Indiana. Let's have a space that you guys can shoot up for here. But also, let's find something new. Let's do something new. I don't think we need all the space for the office. It's a great storefront. It's right on the main street of Bellbrook here. It's really cool. So let's find something that we can do. And so honestly, this kind of came from this brainstorming session with our team of what could we do and get involved with, and that's what came of it. So honestly, it kind of is. It spurred from. It's an idea I've always kind of had in the back of my mind of going to consumers, but really it kind of came from just this think tank of, hey, let's take this awesome space that's available. I don't want to pass it up, and let's make the most of it. And so that's what happened. And it's just kind of fun when you throw random things, and it turned in. Didn't really think it was a lot before, but as we get in here and start looking at our list and people as we talk and getting interested, it started off as the small ideas. Now, like I told you guys, we've got a huge wait list of people interested, and it's become this really fun new division that I think is going to be way more than we ever planned on. And I'm excited for it. I think it's, you talk about scalability. I think this is some model that we're excited to get launched in our community, but I think it's really going to be interesting to see how it goes and if it can be scalable in our other areas, because we cover 11 states, with EJ, with our we have our own trucking that we do. So 95% of our deliveries go out on an EJ truck.
Oh, okay.
So we cover the entire Midwest. We just entered into Chicago market. So we have a lot of territory that we cover. So it's really fun kind of looking at this will be fun because it's in our backyard, but also is this something that then, could be more down the road as well too.
Yeah.
So it's fun. Started off just as
that's awesome.
We had a teams meeting and threw ideas around, and next thing you know, we're sitting in here, and that's what it's going to be. So it's going to be really fun.
Cool. Cool. Well, I mean, Andrew, once again, thank you for joining us. I think we have covered so many different things today, and you have such a unique perspective just through some of the circumstances that you've had to work through, and I think our listeners, there's so many awesome takeaways from this, and I think Ty and I are both excited to see what is even going to become of this place too. Yeah. So
I just heard accountants make good CEOs and business owners.
Is that what I heard?
I think they make the best. That's my personal opinion.
It's like when you know the numbers.
Some respect on the name today.
Right, absolutely.
So I know this has been
up for the accountants.
Yeah, I know this has been one very close to Ty's heart today. So that's good. He's very excited from this. But seriously, thank you again. And I think as we're going to have a couple more episodes here this season, and then Ty and I will be taking a little bit of a break here as we get ready for season 3. So thank you again, and until next time, everybody, we'll see you later.
Thanks for tuning in to the Next Gen Strategies podcast, where we share real stories and practical strategies to help you grow your business. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow us wherever you get your podcasts, and don't forget to like and share it on social media.